The city of Aurelia Prime never truly slept, suspended high above the planet's surface. The orbital city was a web of glowing towers, sky bridges, and endless streams of transport pods. From a distance, it looked like a cluster of stars trapped in orbit. From within, it was a mix of people, technology, cultures far beyond Earth's old limits. Among the many inhabitants was Elier Kane, 27-year-old human engineer. He was not a soldier, nor a politician, nor anyone important in the larger scheme of galactic history. He was simply someone who worked with machines, someone who spent long hours repairing broken drones, patching energy systems, and keeping the floating city alive. Tonight was no different, or at least, that was what Elier believed, working late. The research station where Elier worked stood near the outer ring of Aurelia Prime. It wasn't glamorous. While the inner sectors had bright plazas and polished markets, the outer ring was where the constant hum of machines filled the air. The walls smelled faintly of heated metal. The floors often shook as energy conduits pulsed beneath them. Elier sat at his workbench, tightening a loose panel on a drone. His brown hair was messy, his eyes heavy from lack of sleep. Around him, tools were scattered in no particular order. Another 12-hour shift, he muttered to himself, and tomorrow, the same. He rubbed his forehead. Most humans wouldn't stay in the outer ring after dark cycle. The lighting dimmed, shadows stretched across the walls, and the silence grew thick. For Elier, though, work came first. Machines didn't care about time, but as the clock reached past midnight, something unusual happened. The blackout without warning, the lights flickered. The steady hum of the energy conduits cut off. The drone on Elier's bench went dark, its glowing sensors shutting down. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. What now? Elier groaned, pushing back from his chair. Not another power failure. The city had backup grids. But when the outer ring went dark, it usually meant something had gone very wrong. He stood, grabbing a handheld light. Its narrow beam pushed against the surrounding darkness. But the shadows seemed heavier than usual. The silence was broken by a faint metallic scrape. Elior froze. It came again, closer this time. The sound of something sharp, dragging across steel. His instincts screamed at him to retreat, but his mind argued. Probably just a maintenance bot dislodged from the power loss. Nothing dangerous. He told himself that, yet his hand tightened around the light. Then the shadows moved. The scavenger drones from the corner of the hallway. 3 scavenger drones emerged. These weren't city property, they were illegal machines, built by smugglers who sent them into blackouts to steal parts. Their thin, spider-like legs clicked against the floor as their red sensors flared alive. Oh no. Elier whispered. He knew what they could do. Their cutters could slice through metal and flesh with equal ease. Alone, he stood no chance. One of the drones gave a sharp mechanical screech and charged. Elier stumbled backward, dropping his light. Darkness swallowed him. Only the red sensors of the drones burned in the gloom. He ran. His boots slammed against the floor as the machine scuttled after him, their metal claws scratching sparks against the walls. He darted into a side corridor, his breath ragged. This is bad. Really bad. The stranger just as the nearest drone lunged. Something blurred in the shadows. A tall figure swept past Elier, moving with speed that defied human limits. There was a flash of glowing eyes, a sweep of long limbs, and then crash. The first drone slammed into the wall, crushed as if caught by invisible force. The other 2 screeched, spinning to attack. The figure moved again, silent and precise. One drone fell with its head twisted completely around. The last tried to retreat, but the figure leaped, cloak flowing like liquid shadow, and slammed it to the floor. Sparks scattered. Elier pressed his back to the wall, stunned. When the silence finally returned, only broken machines lay scattered across the ground. The stranger turned slowly, and that was the first time Elier saw her. Celarache was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her body was tall, slender, yet strong. A dark cloak hung around her shoulders, shifting as though it had a life of its own. Her face, illuminated faintly by the broken drone's sparks, was pale and sharp, her eyes glowing with a strange bioluminescent blue, and her teeth, 2 elongated canines, caught the light when she spoke. You should not be here. Human, she said softly, her voice smooth but carrying an edge. Eliar's throat went dry. He had heard rumors. People whispered about her kind. They called them vampiric aliens, though the official name was Noctillery, a race that fed on the life energy of others. Most humans avoided them, fearing the stories of people drained until they collapsed. Yet here she was saving him. Eliar stammered. His voice cracked, embarrassing him. Thanks. I guess the woman tilted her head, studying him. You are not afraid? She asked. Eliar swallowed hard. Should I be? She smiled faintly. That smile made her look even more dangerous, yet strangely calm. Most humans run when they see me, she said. They call me a monster. And you. She stepped closer, her glowing eyes never leaving his. You thank me. Eliar tried to step back, but the wall pressed against him. Maybe I'm just tired, he muttered. Or maybe I know you could have left me to those things. But you didn't. A dangerous curiosity, the woman chuckled. The sound low, but almost musical. My name is Celira, she said. Remember it. For it may be the last name you speak, or the first name of someone you trust. Her words were strange, heavy with double meaning. I'm Eliar, he said quietly. His heart still pounded, but he forced himself to meet her gaze. Celira's eyes glimmered as if amused. She leaned closer, close enough that he could see faint patterns across her skin lines that shimmered like constellations. You are bold. Eliar Kane, she whispered. Humans are usually fragile things. Afraid of the dark? Afraid of me. And what about you? Eliar asked, surprising even himself. Are you afraid of me? Her smile widened, showing the faint edge of her fangs. No, she said softly, but perhaps I should be. A strange understanding, the blackout lights finally flickered back on. Weak emergency strips glowing along the corridor. Celira stepped back, the shadows pulling around her as if reluctant to let her go. I should leave before your guards come, she said. Wait.
Ow.
Eliar called, his voice more desperate than he intended. Will I see you again? Celira paused. She turned her head slightly, her glowing eyes unreadable. Why would you want to? She asked. Eliar hesitated. He thought of her speed, her strength, her fangs. Everything about her should have terrified him. And yet she had saved him. She had spoken to him, not harmed him. I don't know, he admitted. But I do. For a moment, Celira said nothing. Then, a faint smile curved her lips again. Careful what you wish for, human, she whispered. Because tonight, you were lucky. Next time, I might not only save you. And with that, she vanished into the shadows. Leaving Eliar alone with the broken drones, the beginning Eliar stood in the quiet corridor for a long time, his heart still racing. His mind kept replaying the encounter. The glowing eyes, the fangs, the strange way she spoke. Most of all, he remembered the smile. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't mocking. It was something else, something that stirred curiosity instead of fear. Celira. He whispered to himself. He knew he should report the scavenger drones. He knew he should forget about the strange woman. But deep down, he knew he wouldn't. Something about her had changed the night. Something told him this was only the beginning, and far above. In the endless towers of Aurelia Prime, Celira herself stood on a balcony watching the city lights. She touched her lips with her fingers, remembering the human who had thanked her instead of running, for the first time in years. She felt a flicker of curiosity about a fragile human who did not fear her smile. The blackout night should have been just another forgotten incident in the endless hum of Aurelia Prime. Scavenger drones attacked all the time. Security cleared them out. Engineers filed reports. And life went on. But for Eliar Kane, life did not return to normal. No matter how hard he tried to bury himself in work, he couldn't forget her. The memory of Celira, the way she moved, the glowing of her eyes, the strange sharpness of her smile remained in his thoughts. Like an afterimage burned into his vision. He told himself it was nothing. She was dangerous. Everyone knew her kind. The Noctillery were not trusted. The smart thing was to stay away yet. Part of him hoped he would see her again. A quiet return had happened 3 nights later. Eliar was repairing a broken stabilizer coil, sitting alone in the dim-lit lab. The city outside the window glowed with thousands of lights, but the outer ring remained quiet and empty. Then he felt it. A presence. The soft shift of air, the quiet scrape of boots against the floor. He turned, and she was there. "Salira," he whispered. She leaned casually against the doorframe, her cloak flowing like liquid shadow. Her glowing eyes studied him with calm amusement. "You remembered my name," she said softly. "Hard to forget." Salira's lips curved into that same dangerous smile. "And yet you are not running." Elie set his tool down. "Should I?" "Most do," she replied. Her voice was smooth, almost teasing. "But you are not like most humans, are you?" Elie gave a small laugh, though his chest tightened. "I'm just an engineer. Nothing special." Her head tilted slightly. "Perhaps, or perhaps that is exactly why you are interesting." The cloaking de Vesselier was still trying to steady his breathing when Salira pulled a small metal device from her cloak. It was cracked along one side, wires sparking faintly. "This is broken," she said, placing it on his desk. "I need it fixed." Elie frowned. "What is it?" "A cloaking node. It hides me from your security scans." Elie raised his eyebrows. "That sounds very illegal." Salira's glowing eyes narrowed with amusement. "So is keeping company with me. And yet here you are." He stared at her for a long moment. He should say no. He should report her. Yet something about her calm confidence made refusal impossible. With a quiet sigh, he picked up the device. "I'll look at it," he said. Salira leaned back, watching him work. The lab was silent except for the faint hum of tools. Elie felt her eyes on him the entire time, a weight that was both unsettling and strangely comforting. When he finished, he set the repaired device down. "It should work now. Just don't tell me how you'll use it." Salira picked it up carefully. "You were cautious," she said. "But you were also helpful." That is a rare combination. The hunger over the next week, Salira returned more than once. At first it was excuses, another broken device, another excuse to speak with him. But soon it was different. She would appear simply to talk. Sometimes she asked him about machines, sometimes about Earth, a place she had never visited. Other times she sat in silence, watching him work, as though his presence itself was enough. One night, as the lab lights flickered low, she spoke more honestly. "My people," she said softly, "we are called Noctillery. To survive, we must feed. Not on food as you do, but on energy. Bioelectric essence. The spark that runs through living beings." Elie set down his tool. "You mean, from humans?" "From many species," Salira admitted. Her voice was steady, but her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "It is why we are feared. A single mistake can drain too much. That is why contact with humans is forbidden." Elie should have felt afraid. Instead, he studied her carefully. "But you haven't hurt me." Salira's lips pressed into a faint line. "Not yet." The weight in her words made Elier's chest tighten. She wasn't threatening him. She was warning him. He gave a small smile. "Then maybe I should take that as proof you can control it." Salira blinked, surprised. "You trust me." "Shouldn't I?" he asked quietly. Her smile returned, this time softer, almost sad. "You are strange, Elier Kane, very strange." The Joe kit became their pattern. Late at night, Salira would appear, and Elier would find himself talking more than he ever had with anyone else. She was curious, intelligent, and though her words were often sharp, there was warmth hidden beneath. One evening, after Elier explained how drones used neural mapping to fly, Salira leaned back with a teasing expression. "You explain machines as if they are alive," she said. "They almost are," Elier replied. "Every wire, every spark, it's like a heartbeat." Salira's glowing eyes fixed on him, and her lips curved into that dangerous smile. "Careful, Elier. If you keep speaking of sparks, I may grow hungry." Elier laughed nervously. "Hungry?" She leaned forward, her fangs glinting faintly in the dim light. "Yes, perhaps tonight I should bite you, human." The word should have terrified him. Instead, his heart skipped for another reason entirely. Without thinking, said, "Maybe I'd let you." Silence filled the room. Salira froze, her smile faltering. For a long moment, she only stared at him, her glowing eyes unreadable. You would. Agree? She asked softly. Elier's cheeks grew warm, but he didn't look away. You've saved me twice now. You've been honest with me? If that's what you need, then yes, I'd agree. Solera's lips parted slightly, as if she couldn't believe what she heard. Then, slowly, she smiled again. But this time, it wasn't the dangerous smile of a predator. It was something else gentle, almost fragile. You are foolish, she whispered. And yet, I think I like that. Seeds of trust the moment passed, but something changed between them. The air felt heavier, charged with unspoken understanding. Elier knew he had stepped into dangerous territory. A human offering himself to a noctillery was unheard of. Yet he didn't regret it, and Solera. She found herself returning not just out of necessity, but out of something new, something she hadn't felt in years. That night, as she vanished into the shadows once more, Elia realized he was no longer just curious. He was waiting for her, and somewhere deep within, Solera realized the same. Ending of Part 2, the days of Aurelia Prime moved forward. But for Elier, every night was different now. Every sound of shifting air, every flicker of shadow, made him hope she was near. Solera, watching from rooftops and corridors, smiled to herself. Humans were fragile. Humans were prey. That was what she had always believed. But this one, this engineer with messy hair and tired eyes, did not run. Instead, he said the most dangerous words of all. I'd agree. The city of Aurelia Prime glowed as brightly as ever, its towers shining like stars caught in orbit. To the countless citizens walking its bridges and riding its transport pods, life seemed normal. But for Elier Kane, life was anything but ordinary now. Every night he found himself waiting for a shadow to move at the corner of his vision, waiting for glowing eyes to appear in the dim corridors of the outer ring, waiting for Solera. At first, he had told himself their meetings were a coincidence, that she came only to repair her broken devices, that he was nothing more than a convenient engineer. But the truth had become impossible to ignore. Solera kept coming back not only for repairs, but to talk, to share, to simply exist beside him in the quiet hours. It was strange. It was dangerous. And it was becoming the most important part of his life. But the galaxy rarely allowed such fragile spawns to remain untouched. Suspicion Ilier's trouble began when his supervisor, Chief Harlan, summoned him to the central office. Harlan was a tall man with sharp features and a voice that carried authority. His desk was stacked with reports, most of them marked with the emblem of the Galactic Authority Security Division. Kane Harlan began, his tone stern. I've received troubling news. Elier shifted uneasily. About what? About the noctillery, Harlan said. He tapped one of the reports. There have been incidents. Colonies reporting sudden power drain. Entire sectors blacking out overnight. The Authority believes their kind is feeding recklessly again. Elier felt his stomach tighten. You're sure it's them? Who else would it be? Harlan snapped. You know their reputation? They drain what they want and leave husks behind. Eliar clenched his fists under the table. He wanted to argue, to say that not all noctillery were like that, but he couldn't reveal Solera. Harlan's eyes narrowed. You work in the outer ring. If you see anything suspicious, you report it immediately. Understand? Yes, sir, Elier said quietly. Good. Because if I even suspect you're hiding something, you'll be finished here. The pressure back in the lab, Elier's thoughts churned. He could still hear Harlan's voice, sharp and unforgiving. He wanted to believe the reports were wrong, or at least exaggerated. Solera was proof that not all noctillery were dangerous, but if the Authority was already watching, then any mistake could expose her. When Solera finally appeared that night, he felt torn between relief and fear. You look troubled, she said. Stepping into the dim light, Elier forced a smile. Just a long day. Her glowing eyes studied him. Do not lie to me. Humans may fool one another, but your emotions are clear as fire to me. He sighed. The Authority thinks your people are stealing energy again. They're investigating, Solera's expression darkened. Some of my kind may be guilty. Hunger drives recklessness. But I have never broken your laws. I know, Elier said quickly. But if they find you here, they will not, she interrupted. I am careful. Elier stared at her, frustration and worry mixing in his chest. Careful isn't always enough. They already suspect. If they catch you, they won't care about truth. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Celira looked away, her voice quieter. Perhaps I should leave. The thought made Elier's chest ache. He didn't want her to go, but he also didn't want her in danger. The confession that night, Celira lingered longer than usual. She sat at the edge of his workbench, her cloak pooling like liquid shadow around her. Her glowing eyes were dimmer than normal, her movements slower. You're tired? Elier asked. Her lips pressed together. Not tired, hungry. Elier froze. Celira lowered her gaze. I have gone too long without feeding. I restrained myself to avoid suspicion, but the hunger grows. It claws at me, whispers to me. Every time I stand near you, I feel it. The spark in you calls to me stronger than I wish to admit. Elier's heart pounded. Then why not? He stopped himself. Why not take it? She finished for him, her voice heavy. Because you would not survive if I took too much, and I do not wish to harm you. Elier stepped closer, his voice steady despite the fear tightening his chest. You saved me twice. You've had every chance to hurt me, but you didn't. That tells me you can control it. Her glowing eyes lifted, filled with both longing and pain. Control does not last forever. For a long moment, Elier stood in silence, his thoughts spinning. Then, slowly, the words left his lips. Take my energy. I'll give it willingly. Shocked, Celira stared at him as if he had lost his mind. Offer yourself, she whispered. Elior nodded. His hands trembled, but his voice stayed firm. If that's what you need, then yes. Better me, who chooses it, than some stranger who doesn't get the choice. You do not understand, Celira said sharply. Standing so quickly, her cloak rippled. This is not a simple matter of food. When I feed, I touch the essence of who you are. It is dangerous. It can destroy you. It can destroy me. Elier stepped closer anyway. And yet you hold back. That means you care enough to try. Her glowing eyes burned brighter, filled with conflict. You are a reckless human, maybe, he said quietly. But I trust you. Celira's lips parted as though to argue, but no words came. For the first time since he met her, she looked uncertain. Finally, she whispered almost to herself, Why? Why would you trust me? Elior smiled faintly. Because I've seen the way you look at me. Not like prey. Not like a tool, but like someone who matters. A dangerous decision. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Celira turned away, her cloak shifting like restless shadow. If I accept, she said softly, there will be no turning back. The authority will see us as traitors. Your people will not understand. My people will call me weak. Elier's heart beat faster. Then let them. This isn't about them. It's about us. Celira looked at him for a long time, her glowing eyes unreadable. Finally, she smiled faintly, a small, fragile smile, unlike any she had shown before. You are a strange human, Elier Kane, she whispered. And perhaps that strangeness will change everything. The choice that night, nothing more happened. Celira left as she always did, vanishing into the shadows. But the air between them had changed. Elier lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, his mind replaying every word. He knew the danger. He knew what he had offered. And yet, he felt no regret. Celira, standing on a high rooftop overlooking the glowing city, felt the hunger gnawing at her deeper than ever. But for the first time, she also felt something stronger than hunger-hope. Hope that perhaps a human could see her not as a monster, but as someone worth trusting. Ending of Part 3. The galaxy outside grew restless. Rumors spread of more attacks, more blackouts. The Authority prepared to tighten control, but in the quiet corners of Aurelia Prime, an engineer and an octillery stood on the edge of a choice that could reshape everything. And though fear weighed heavily, one truth remained. Elier had spoken the words no one else ever had. The nights on Aurelia Prime grew quieter for Elier Kane, but it was not the peaceful kind of quiet. It was the heavy, waiting silence of someone living with a decision too big to take back. He had said the words, he had made the offer, "Take my energy. I'll give it willingly." And Salira had heard them. Every night after that, Alir waited in his lab, unable to focus fully on work. The machines on his desk blurred before his eyes. His thoughts circled endlessly around the same questions. Would she accept? Would she come? Would he survive? He told himself he wasn't afraid. But the truth was different. He was afraid of the unknown, of the pain, of the possibility that trust might break. Yet stronger than fear was a strange kind of resolve, because in his heart, Elier knew one thing clearly. He trusted her. The night she came in was on the 7th night after his offer. The outer ring was quiet, the corridors dim. Elier sat at his workbench, tools scattered uselessly around him. His hands wouldn't stay steady enough to repair anything. And then he felt it. The faint shift in the air. The subtle presence like shadows thickening. He turned. And there she was. Salira stood at the doorway, her cloak flowing like living darkness. Her glowing blue eyes fixed on him, steady but uncertain. "You are still here," she said softly. "Waiting for you," Elier answered. She stepped closer, her movements smooth and silent. "You should not be so eager, human. Once I begin, I may not stop." Elier's heart pounded, but he forced a smile. "Then I'll just have to trust that you will." Her lips curved into a faint, fragile smile. "Strange human," she whispered. The warning Zalira came closer until she stood directly in front of him. Her cloak brushed the edge of the desk, and Elier could see the faint glow of the constellations etched across her skin. She leaned down slightly, her eyes never leaving his. "If I feed, you will feel pain. Sharp, deep, and unlike anything else. Your body may resist. Your mind may try to flee. Do not. If you pull away, I may take too much." Elier swallowed. "Then I won't pull away." Her glowing eyes narrowed, testing his resolve. Finally, she nodded. "It's very well," she said. "But remember, you chose this." The Baitessalira placed her hand lightly against his shoulder. Her touch was cool, almost electric. Elier felt his skin prickle beneath her fingers. She leaned closer, and he saw the faint gleam of her elongated fangs. His breath caught, but he didn't move. Then she bit. The pain was instant, a sharp sting that burned into his skin. But it wasn't just pain. It was a pull, a current flowing out of him. His breath shuddered as he felt his energy, his very spark slipping away, and then something else. It wasn't just loss. It was connection. For a brief, impossible moment, Elier felt her mind brush against his. Not thoughts exactly, but emotions. Hunger, yes, but also restraint. Loneliness carried for years. Curiosity sharper than the bite itself. Salira trembled. Her grip on his shoulder tightened, but she didn't pull deeper. Elier forced himself to stay still, every instinct screaming to fight, to escape. Instead, he breathed slowly, whispering words between gasps. "It's okay. I trust you." The words flowed into her through the bond, and Salira shuddered again. She pulled back sharply, breaking the connection before it could go too far. Elier sagged forward, weak but conscious. His chest heaved with effort, but his eyes remained open. Salira's lips glistened faintly, her fangs still sharp. Her glowing eyes burned brighter than ever, wide with shock. "You," she whispered. "You survived," Elier gave a weak laugh. "Told you. I trusted you." Her restaurancella turned away quickly, pressing her hand against her lips. Her body shook, though not from hunger this time. From restraint, she had tasted his energy, felt the warmth of his spark, and every part of her being had screamed to take more. But she hadn't. She had pulled away, and that was because of him. Because of his trust, she turned back slowly, her expression unreadable. "You fool," she whispered. "Do you realize what you have done?" Elier managed to sit upright, though his body still felt heavy. "Given you what you needed? That's all." Her eyes softened, glowing faintly. "No, you gave me something more. You gave me choice. No one has ever offered freely before. Always fear. Always resistance. But you?" She trailed off, her voice quiet. "You gave me trust." Humanity's strength. Elier smiled faintly, even through his exhaustion. "Maybe that's what humans do best. We're fragile, sure. But when we trust, we really mean it." Celira studied him for a long moment, then reached out and gently brushed her fingers along his cheek. Her touch was soft, hesitant, almost reverent. "You are not like the others," she said. "Neither are you," Elia replied. For the first time since he met her, Celira laughed softly. It wasn't sharp or mocking. It was warm, quiet, and real. The aftermath's hours passed slowly. Celira insisted he rest, staying near him like a guardian shadow. Eliar drifted in and out of sleep, but each time he opened his eyes, she was there, silent, watchful, her glowing eyes steady. When he finally managed to stand, she offered her arm for support. "You are weaker than before," she said gently. Eliar gave a small grin. "Worth it." Celira shook her head in disbelief. "Humans. You always speak of worth, even when facing pain. Maybe pain means less when you choose it," Eliar said softly. Her eyes lingered on him, filled with something unspoken, respect, admiration, and something deeper she didn't dare name. The bond before she left that night. Celira paused at the doorway. "Eliar," she said quietly, "what happened between us? It is not simply feeding. It is connection. Now, part of me is linked to you, and part of you to me. That bond will not fade easily." Eliar's breath caught. "Then I'm part Noctillery now?" She smiled faintly. "Not quite. But I will always feel your spark. And you will always feel my shadow." He gave a tired laugh. "Guess that makes us roommates in each other's heads?" Celira chuckled softly, shaking her head. "You are reckless. But perhaps that is what makes you strong." And with that, she melted back into the shadows, leaving Eliar alone with a heart that raced for reasons beyond fear. Ending of Part 4, the decision had been made. The bite had happened. Neither of them could return to the way things were before. Celira had tasted trust for the first time. Eliar had given part of himself willingly, in a galaxy where fear and suspicion ruled. One human had proven that trust was stronger than hunger, and as Celira vanished into the night, her smile lingered, a smile not of danger, but of quiet hope. The days after the bite were different for Eliar Kane at first. He thought it was only exhaustion, the heaviness in his body, the way his muscles ached, the faint dizziness when he stood too quickly. But there was something more. A strange awareness hummed within him, like a quiet voice at the edge of thought. Sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he felt it. The cool echo of Celira's presence, not words, not images, but a sense of her shadow flowing beside his spark, and he knew she was feeling the same. The bond deepens on the 10th night. Celira appeared again. She did not arrive with silence as before. This time, she entered openly, stepping into the light of his lab. Her cloak rippled softly, but her face was uncovered. Her glowing eyes fixed on him without hesitation. "You are stronger," she said, her voice calm. Eliar chuckled weakly. "Barely walking still feels like climbing a mountain." Her lips curved faintly. "And yet you smile, because you're here." The words slipped out before he could stop them. He braced himself for her sharp retort, but instead, she looked away, as though his simple honesty unsettled her more than danger ever could. "You feel it too," Celira murmured at last. "The bond. Do not deny it." Eliar nodded slowly. "I feel you, like a second heartbeat. Like someone standing with me even when I'm alone." Her eyes softened. "That is the danger. Such a bond is rare. Forbidden even. Forbidden." Eliar frowned. "Why?" "Because my people fear what they do not understand. A connection between prey and predators should not exist. To them, it is corruption. To me," she hesitated. "To me, it is possibility." The threat, their fragile moment, was shattered by a sudden vibration in the air. A sharp pulse echoed through the lab, making Eliar's tools rattle. Celira stiffened, her cloak flaring like wings. "They are coming," she whispered. "Who?" Eliar asked, alarmed. "The elders, the high ones of my kind. They have felt the bond. They come to end it." Before Eliar could react, the lights flickered. The shadows in the corners of the room deepened unnaturally, twisting like living smoke. From that darkness, shapes emerged, tall figures cloaked in night, their eyes glowing with harsher light than Celira's, 3 of them. The elders. The elders speak, though. Talus stepped forward, his voice like cold steel. Salira of the Noctillery, you have broken the oldest law. You have bound yourself to pray. Salira bowed her head slightly, but did not kneel. I chose differently. I chose trust. Trust. The elder's voice sharpened. This human is food. Nothing more. By linking with him, you endanger our kind. Elier forced himself to stand, even though his legs trembled. I'm standing right here, you know. Maybe you should ask me what I think. The elders turned their burning eyes toward him, and the weight of their gaze nearly crushed him. Still, Elier didn't back down. You call me prey, he said, his voice steady, despite the fear twisting in his chest. But I'm the one who chose. I trusted her, and she proved that trust wasn't wasted. Maybe that's something you should try, instead of hiding behind fear. The room grew colder. One elder hissed, shadows twisting violently around him. Arrogant human, you do not understand what you risk. Her hunger could destroy you. Our hunger could destroy worlds. Maybe, Elier said quietly. But hunger doesn't have to mean cruelty. Salira proved that. Salira's Stancelira moved, stepping in front of Elier, her cloak spread wide, shielding him from their gaze. Her voice rang clear, firm with defiance. He speaks truth. I tasted his spark, yet I stopped. Not because of law, but because of choice. His trust gave me strength to resist. If even one human can do this, then perhaps our kind has been wrong all along. The elders hissed, their glowing eyes flaring. You betray us, the leader thundered. You weaken the Noctillery with this madness. Salira shook her head. No, I strengthen us. For the first time, I see a path beyond endless hunger. A path where we do not only take, but also receive willingly. That is not weakness. That is freedom. The trial of shadows, the elders spread their hands, and the shadows of the lab writhed into long, claw-like shapes. The air grew heavy, crushing, as if the room itself was against them. This bond must be broken, the leader declared. One way or another, Elier felt the bond inside him tremble. A cold pressure pressed against his chest, threatening to rip Salira's presence out of him. He gasped, stumbling. Salira spun, gripping his shoulders. Hold on, do not let go of me. I'm trying. Elier choked out, his vision blurring. Through the bond he felt her strength flood into him, cool, steady, unyielding. And in return, he pushed back with everything he had. Not power, not magic, not strength of body. Just the one thing humans were best at, trust at. He poured his trust into her through the bond, whispering in his heart, I believe in you. I'm not letting go. Salira's eyes widened, glowing brighter as she felt it. Her own strength surged, pushing back against the elder's force. The shadows recoiled. Humanity's proof the leader staggered slightly, his expression twisting in disbelief. Impossible. A human cannot resist the bond breaking. Elier coughed, but his smile was firm. Guess you underestimated us. We're fragile, sure, but we don't break easy when we care about someone. Salira turned toward the elders, her voice carrying a new powerful edge. You see, this is humanity's strength. Not claws, not fangs, not power. Trust. That is what binds stronger than hunger. That is what makes them dangerous and beautiful. The elders stood in silence. The room's shadows slowly stilled, the oppressive weight lifting. At last the leader lowered his head. Perhaps. We were blind. A new path the elders did not vanish immediately. They lingered, watching Elier with unreadable eyes. Then, without another word, they withdrew into the shadows. Leaving only silence behind, Elier collapsed into a chair, breathing hard. His whole body trembled, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. Salira knelt before him, her eyes soft with something rare pride. You faced them without fear, she whispered. Oh, I was terrified, Elier admitted, grinning weakly. But being terrified doesn't mean giving up. Salira smiled, a true smile that reached her glowing eyes. Perhaps that is why your kind fascinates me. You walk in fear, yet still move forward. The promise the following nights were calmer. No elders returned. But the bond remained, stronger than before. Sometimes Eliar would feel Celier's amusement when he muttered to himself. Sometimes she would sense his determination when he worked late into the night. They were no longer two separate beings. They were connected by choice, by trust, by something greater than either of them understood. One evening, as they stood beneath the stars of Aurelia Prime, Elie looked at her and said, "So what happens now?" Celira gazed up at the endless sky, her cloak rippling gently in the breeze. "Now, we walk together. No longer predator and prey, but something new." Elir smiled softly. "Partners." Her lips curved. "Yes, partners." Ending of Part 5. The galaxy was wide and dangers remained. The Elder's silence did not mean acceptance forever. But for now, single human and a single noctillery had proven something greater than fear. That trust could change everything. And as Celira stood beside him, her smile calm and radiant, Elier knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humanity's strength was not in power. It was in the courage to trust and the will to keep walking forward, even when the night was darkest.